Hello, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Review Crew Round 13 Monday night live stream. Bit impromptu today. Wasn't going to do it, but then thought, hey, let's keep the tradition going. How you going, Kai?
Good. I don't think you could have got better timing than that, as when the intro was rolling, we got the lockout lifted.
I just saw it. I'm like, oh, I got my weekly score. It wasn't as great as what I thought it was going to be. But yeah,
I'm going to guess a 5K rank drop.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, mate, I'm very happy.
Yep.
Looking at a few players this week, I don't think we got as many injuries, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I mean, we had look at like Adam Chera and a few others. Hopefully we don't get tanked as much by the injuries as what we've had in the last couple of weeks. But, mate, my scoring was not great. I think your scoring was worse than my scoring this week.
Oh, mine was well worse.
It's been a rough couple of weeks in Supercoach land.
I had 18 plus 2 subs and included in the 18. So, yeah, Bailey Smith probably caused me about 60, 70 points of damage himself, at least, because I had to take a 20. I had 19, a 30, a 37 all in my side. At least I nailed my trades. There wasn't much I could do better, but
you look at mine. I had Matt Carroll on a 30. Didn't really work out well. I think it was my lowest score, and then it was just a bunch of fluff for the rest. One of the weeks where forcing Bontempelli into your team probably wasn't the best idea. It worked out in the end. I still got a 101, but guys like Mills, guys like Tom Stewart, ended up dropping Josh Dacos, who ended up scoring 20 points on Bontempelli anyway. Traded Flynn that had like 30 points below Bont's score. So, yeah, it's a rough week for us in Supercoach land. I think I've just sneaky scoring for everyone who's here, but I've just dropped out of the top 500. So it's probably where I should be anyway. Velo, hey, Velo, hope you're doing well. Scored a 2049. Very nice, Corey. Very nice there. Our community team did well. And then Joe's team went well as well. So there you go. 22-30. Wow. 23-22 weekly winner. Yeah. Well, we'll have a quick look at that as well, just while we're here. We'll go through a couple more of the comments. Chris, hope you're doing okay. I don't think I've seen you before, so very, very happy for you to be here. Just under 1,900, kind of sucks. There you go, dropped nearly 2K. Frankie, how you doing, Frankie? 2079 team of the week. Yep, you beat me by 100 points, Frankie, so not too good for me. Velo, 2038. There you go. Nice work, Velo. Let's have a quick sneaky look at the screen. Kai, what's your biggest takeaways from this week in terms of Supercoach or AFL or whatever?
I mean, at least Sydney won, which was a positive because I haven't had much to... And also Sydney's VFL was better. Going from we're actually in the net positive for results this week, not minus 180 than last week across the two.
There you go.
But I think just for me, a lot of the last couple of weeks has actually just been sort of maybe looking at and it was something I was talking with a lot of other people with, is just keeping track of the injury guys, because there's a lot of guys that sort of 2-3 weeks later, you almost forget about them, or you're almost like, oh, they're not in the top sort of 10 or 20 for last 3 or last 5. And then you're like, oh, I've missed out on that mid-price. So that was an obvious decision or something like that. Like, I think it was, Doherty. I know that there was definitely discussion about Brett Daniels before he came on way too early to really drop in price. But guys like that, I mean, I caught on to Caldwell mostly because it was kind of, there was some blatant stats in there that sort of showed it. But yeah, guys like that are sort of that 400 to 420K range, even down to the 350K guys, I think is a real area where I can catch up quite a lot in this last little bit.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's more about just having the availability of rookies as well that are actually playing. I mean, we look at Team of the Week this week, and congrats to you, mate. Hopefully you end up having, what rank was that? Rank 50K. So
he'll be in front of me next week.
There you go. Anyone can win the weekly. It doesn't matter too much. But you kind of just look at a team like this and it's like, where's the bench? where's the bench cash gen? It's almost like my team where you end up having a
Yeah.
Dev as your worst score on field and then Archday Wicks and then cool. Well, doesn't matter because the rest of the team is flying. Dodged frauds like Zach Merritt and a few others. As Corey says here, no Perry this week. Yeah, it's bonkers. And no TD. Also, he does have TDK as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting kind of team. How many sides will have Jai Simpkin in there in Supercoach?
Oh, I even commented in the game that he was actually having a horrific game in general. Like he had a horrific, at least first 3 quarters until I basically switched it off to go somewhere. And then for some reason I watch it and then I look at the scores. I'm like 7 tons or something from North Melbourne, something dumb like that. I was like, that.
Yeah.
What? I mean, he was horrific in terms of his decision making and everything in the first quarter.
Yeah, guys like Colby McKercher, guys like Harry Sheasel basically came out of nowhere as well. Let me just pull up the game day from this week. It was bonkers, man. Corey will attest to this as well. We're roasting North Melbourne on the stream, just talking shit about how bad the side is. Look at how many hundreds there are. Just bang, 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 bang. I mean, no one's got Liam Baker, so it doesn't matter too much. No one's got Duggan. Bloody Elijah Hewitt, the freak that just...
thank you.
Yeah, the freak that just keeps giving. I wish I had him. And before what I was saying, about Bont to Flynn to Bont, I mean, they only missed by, 20 points, so it wasn't much. But Cherry Massive had him as captain this week. McKercher, the people that jumped on him at 300K would have been monster for those people as well. Harry Sheasel, 14 touches, bunch of points, why not, in the fourth quarter as well. And then your boy Caleb Daniel, I mean, I've done a lot of stupid things in Supercoach this year that have cost me players trading out that I shouldn't have traded out. Maybe Josh Dacos was one of those this week. Really, really sucked to trade out Dacos. I think I was negative in points, which rarely happens in Supercoach land for myself. But yeah, kept Caleb Daniel, a couple of 90s and now 124. So very, very happy there. And then a few other plotters as well, some guys down at the bottom that really need to have a think about themselves. And, we'd be surprised if the likes of Bo Allen and a few of these are in the senior team next year. So, yeah, a bit of a rough game there in Supercoach land. As Velo says here, if Hewitt didn't give away that 50, there you go. Evening, lads. 2017. Nice. Beat me, Captain Flash, this week. So, there you go. Would you trade Ned Long this week, Kai? Is it time to get rid of Long?
He's on the bye, isn't he? So, he's got 107 break even. I think he probably goes close to that when he comes back anyway.
Okay.
It honestly depends on how many trades you've got left in the sort of situation with your team, because if you can go a straight shot of a Long to a Butters, then that's just almost free money. But if you're doing a Long to pretty much anyone else almost at this point, then I'm like, do you really want to be doing that? Because there's no mids coming off the bye, are there? Like the round 13 bye that you really like, do you?
No.
You've got Rio and St Kilda, don't you?
Yeah, so there's a couple of forwards. Like if you wanted to jump on a Shy Bolton, I understand. If you wanted to jump on like a Brayshaw or Sarong, I think he's fairly cheap still.
Sarong's
535K.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'd be an upgrade target for some people. And then Nazire in the back line, I think, is probably the must-have primo if you don't have him this week, alongside Zach Johnson in the midfield. So, yeah, it's mate, it's definitely an interesting one. I'll tell you what, I might just go Ashcroft up to Butters and say, well, that's my my flex done. I'll just have a crappy rookie at F6 if I can find someone, and then grab Mills next week, and the team's done. So. Would be the way that we have to go.
I've actually got 23 guys this week. I had 18, and suddenly now I'm like, I've got 23.
I just don't have a forward. Who's in the forward line for yourself?
I've got actually an extra forward.
There you go.
I've got plenty of forwards. I have Bolton and Horn Francis in the midfield if they play. I'm projecting that Horn Francis and McRae play, right? Because I held them both. I've got
There you go.
Bailey Smith. Hopefully he's back. Petrarca, McRae, Rankin, Daniel, Hewitt, Kennedy, even Pedler that could play as well. So yeah, I only have, I think, Dacos on the bye alongside Gray, who's injured anyway.
Yeah. And if I had Josh Dacos still, I would have had him on the bye too. North was shit for those second and third quarters, 100%. Thought at one stage we were doing well. Should have won by 30 plus after that first quarter. Well, there you go, Corey. It was, a bit of a rough one for North Melbourne people. Hopefully, fingers crossed that Tom Gross comes back. We can cheekily check out some VFL stats if we want to as well. But, yeah, we may get a couple of rookies back, hopefully. North Melbourne should have won, but after those second and thirds, we should have lost, to be honest. Like, it was a game that North Melbourne, it was very rough. It was a rough thing.
Oh yeah, you guys should have been. You should have been down like 3 goals at halftime or 4 goals at halftime.
Yeah, it was not fun. Johnson, he played well. Yeah, big thing for me with Johnson is he probably shouldn't have been subbed last week, but it was his first game of AFL, so cool. This week did really well. Maybe a Redmond not playing as well, but just being named on field too. I think last week potentially he was named on field.
But was Lawal the one that came in when Redmond was named out, I should say?
Yeah.
So that means that there's probably one player of coverage there before he drops out, you would think. Plus also they just need to play all their halfbacks because Merritt at halfback is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That midfield that midfield might be one of the slowest midfields I've seen of Parrish, Caldwell, Setterfield, and Goldstein honestly wasn't the slowest in that midfield.
And unfortunately, I think that's the problem with the likes of Elijah Sardis coming into the Essendon team too, is that like he's great for our super coaches. I think a few people definitely have him. Hey, we need to see what happens. But it's pretty devastating when he's there and just can't do anything on field. So really, really sucked for them. You just can't have 8 slow players, and that's why they're throwing all their eggs in the basket trying to get someone like a Harley Reid to come across. To the side. It's a bit rough. Carlton sucked after quarter time. We're very, very lucky. There you go. Hustwaite got 32 and 13 clearances, Kai. Does he make his way into the team this week?
I don't think so, just because I think that he kind of compounds the problem that they've got of a very, very slow midfield. So I just don't know if he necessarily gets into there. Like you've got Nash, you've got Warple, you've got also Ward isn't the quickest anyway. They kind of are really, really missing the Will Day in their lineup.
Yeah, no. And that's one of the things that they're talking about on the stream as well. Was just, no Will Day, no Hawthorn at the moment. So lucky they got the win, but a bit rough. Feels like Sardis is like Berry from Adelaide. But, mate, he's like Timu version, Corey. He's like that version that like Christmas hamper, when you got to put your $10 in every month. He's that version. Akers was the slowest player on field. He needs to get a month. There you go. Warple got subbed. Yeah, 100%. Just checking out some of the best players in the VFL this week. Seeing if we can get anyone named. It's your boy Ben Patton with another 30 touches in the Sydney loss in the VFL.
Yeah,
this is the one
they
where
ran it close.
Yeah, this is the one where they had a few players that were out as well.
There's a sneaky suspicion on at least big footy boards that there's a potential debut after the bye for Sydney. And if so, if I had to give my predictions, it would be either Dottoli, who everyone's been talking up about, or potentially Paddy Snell, who would come in and play sort of a defensive role to allow Blakey to, I guess, to run riot, because Sydney, with a more defensive backline, suddenly Blakey has the ability just to do whatever the heck he wants.
Well, that's it, right? Do you think Roberts comes straight back in, or are they going to rest him?
We were actually having this conversation as well about just how that works. Him coming back in, because I think a lot of people, Sydney's sake, want Mills at halfback rather than the midfield. They want Sheldrick in that midfield rather than Mills there, because you get the Roberts and you get the Lloyds at the halfback, and that's just way too not defensive. So if Roberts comes back into the side, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in for a Bice on a wing or something like that alongside Gordon. And you have those two plus McInerney as the wing rotation, which probably just kills off his scoring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost too many cooks in the kitchen type situation. Boss might have lost his job if the Bombers won't.
He's going to lose his job anyway.
Yeah, I think if they don't make finals, he's 100% gone. The Blues faithful are slowly hating him. Probably the right word. So there you go. In a dilemma, could go Gray, Carroll to Butters and Johnson. There you go.
What's the dilemma?
There you go. Or Gray, Carroll, McAuliffe to Butters, Johnson, and McKercher. We'll do a video on this maybe after this, Kai, or tomorrow if you want to do it. Just chatting about kind of the really cheap options in Supercoach at the moment.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, I think even Tom Stewart is still
like that 300 to 450k range is littered with some players that have copped a 5 or 10 in their system. Like you've got Mills will be 10k traded in next week out of the top.
Everybody will
Everyone
will have it.
Even if he just plays whichever role he's going to play, he's going to score 85 plus, you would think, at least. And basically being able to swap well, for me, I've already swapped out a Lindsay, but for most people, like maybe next week it's an Elijah Hewitt straight to him or something like that. Because Elijah Hewitt, it's one good game, one bad game. So it's like 190 and then like a 50. And I'm like, can you just put some consistency together?
If I check out McAuliffe, he does have a bye, but his previous scoring has been good enough that
you
can probably hold him for a couple more weeks.
Yeah, basically, whenever Prestia did something, he did nothing, and when Prestia did nothing, he did something. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Prestia, I think, had a 70-point first, and McAuliffe about a 10, and then Prestia had 0 influence in the second, like no touches, no marks, no tackles. McAuliffe, I think, had 45 points or something in the second.
So McAuliffe has only scored under 90 twice. I don't know what had happened in the other 2 games, but he's actually done really well this year. If we say, hey, McAuliffe is going to score an 85 from now on, he's going to jump up to about 430k or 410. So it may be worth you holding him. Round 16, he's going to murder everybody. Everyone is going to jump off these round 16 players. So it might be worth you looking at holding him purely for the fact that he does. It's when he's going to start to taper off in cash, and maybe you can trade in for another player with that. So that might be a bit of a play.
Yeah, that bad game, just looking at it, he basically just had no marks and tackles. The other games he had 10 plus of marks and tackles, and he had 4 in that game. So that was the real reason there.
Caden Cleary did okay, only the one behind though, so probably not great in terms of super.
Yeah, but it's probably a good thing him just being in the VFL for Sydney's sake.
Well, Sheldrick's going monster anyway, so don't really care too much.
Yeah, he's not going to. He's much rather be in the VFL playing midfield than small forward where you get 2 touches.
Yes. Tunstall with the 21 touches, 1 goal, 1 behind. Don't think he comes back into the seniors though. I think Dev Rob, they're going to try and give him a few more games and then hopefully trade him off for a second rounder. I feel like that's going to be the play. West Coast
3 years late.
West Coast will be like, thank you very much. We probably got 18 more Ashcrofts coming through the VFL, so doesn't matter too much. Heading over to
they actually played their academy players in the VFL this weekend. I'm pretty sure alongside Gold Coast.
Well, there you go. Will Phillips monster score. One that potentially could come into the side soon may be a Zach Branch. We could get him in the forward line. Kicked 3 goals in the first quarter, looked really good. Plays a role that North Melbourne desperately needs. So if you guys are desperate for a forward downgrade, 99k may be a selection to have a look at. Just a bit of a cheeky look. Having a look at the Hawks versus Frankston game, we did talk about Hustwaite 32 touches, 10 kicks, 12 handballs, 13 clearances. So, look, he's pushing. He's pushing. He could come back at some point. So he's very much pushing for a selection. There really isn't anyone else I think that's actually viable in terms of super coach from this game. Having a look at Collingwood versus Melbourne. I don't think we've got anyone in here in our teams anyway that really matter.
No, and I don't think anyone's going to get a 3-game run, to be honest with you. No. You almost have to have someone that's played 1 or 2 games to be a shot.
Your boy Mitch Nevitt could come back at some point with the 102 in fantasy, 25 touches, but Geelong's on fire at the moment, so maybe not. Ned Moyle has to get traded at the end of the year. There's a few clubs that are just wanting that type of player.
And they have Max Noble anyway. That'll just take over the role. So they just rinse and repeat, get a second rounder for him, and basically get another midfielder from their academy.
I would love if someone like an Essendon just said, "Hey, Brian, hey Goldie, whatever, you're coming through. Ned Moyle, number 1 ruck. Just have fun. Build with the team. Good enough to play that."
I wouldn't be surprised if it's St Kilda. Oh well, St Kilda if they don't get.
They still got Marshall.
Carlton could do it if they lose TDK.
Yeah, no, that could work too. And then heading over to the last game that probably matters too much. I'll see if I can find the Waffle stats too. I don't think Waffle do something
I
similar.
have them up.
So
I've got
they're
them.
not on here. More just looking at Clay Hall and Gross Kai. If you want to just load it up on the second screen, then we can just share that as well. Ben Camporelli, the wrong Camporelli, had a big game, 32 touches, so he might debut. Mark Pitnet, no one cares about too much. Elijah Sardis with the 97, 28 touches, 5 clearances. And that's probably about it, really, in terms of super coach.
This one?
Good old Lucas with the 24 touches, but unfortunately, I don't think he's ever coming back. And his score next year is going to be tanked by the fact that he played a couple of games this year. So really sucks. Really sucks. Looks like everyone is going Butters and Johnson this week. Well, that's it, Frankie. If we have a look, a lot of us were hoping that a Zach Butters would actually drop further in money, but he didn't, which really sucks. If he didn't score a 140 or some stupid number this week?
It was like 100 gets him down.
143. If Toby Bedford did his job and kept him to a super low score, we'd be okay. Unfortunately,
I think it was like 540 if he got scored 100 or something.
Yeah. So it would have been a bit cheaper. The break even would have been a bit lower. The problem is, like, you look at this matchup, Melbourne don't do great against mids. Sydney, okay. And then Carlton aren't great. And then start moving into a few of the other crappier teams too. So it's a rough fixture for people that don't own him. And it's going to hurt if you don't own him. So, yeah, kind of sucks.
Yep.
Yeah. As Velo says here, Bedford tagged Rosie more than Butters. Well, there you go. And then Johnson is the number 1 trade target in this week. So Zach Johnson played halfback, did really well. Buzzer Cat is the name for the Supercoach team. Zach Johnson, and he's a mid as well, so it allows us to offload someone like a Gross, someone like a Hustwaite in our teams as well.
Yeah.
Or if you're really feeling sneaky, I can go someone like a Sard out or a Matt Carroll out. And Carroll for myself, maybe.
I do. Can we not mention Sard ever again? I had that 50-50 shot between him and Sheldrick, and I went the wrong one. One of them was
I went Sard over Gross. I went Sard over Gross a week early, and that didn't work out well for me either. So my
rough. Side wouldn't actually look too bad if I had Sheldrick in there, but I don't. I have him in one format, but not both, which is kind of sad.
There you go. So just having a look at the Waffle game on the weekend. Oh, can you zoom in a bit for us, Kai?
Is it? Yeah.
There you go. So Clay Hall, big game. Highest on field, 30 touches. Moving down the list, Tom Gross is the one that we're a little bit worried about with the 18 touches. It's not great. It means he might be the one that goes out. We're thinking, though, Kai, early predictions, maybe a Tom McCarthy debut this week, finally.
Tom
Finally,
McCarthy,
it's
I
going to
think
happen.
yeah, I would like to also see them. I don't know how Tim Kelly did himself, but I would also like to see. I think Grego's put together some performances. Let me just see if I can grab this. His performances up because I'm pretty sure he was one that they were sort of talking about. He's had not the greatest, but some at least something. So that's better. And so let's just see if I can. What is Tim Kelly's sort of? Because Tim Kelly, isn't he one that they half the base for or half West Coast think isn't the greatest, and then half them's like, we kind of need to play him because we paid a stupid amount of money for. He had 12 touches, 12 touches, and 3 marks, 2 tackles, and 2 clearances for an inside mid. Yeah, no, he should be dropped. He's put up one singular ton in. It was the same game across both formats since round 2024. He's played like 12 games and put up 1 ton, and only 490 scores in Supercoach. Aside from that, in like 10, 12 games, that is horrid for a guy you're paying like $1 million a year or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's where I don't feel great about LDU at the moment either. Paying him like 1.3 million.
Didn't he have a good third? Wasn't it like he played 1 quarter?
Yep, pretty much. So looking at this team, there's not many coming in. Someone like a Tom Gross potentially, but I don't think so. I think Clay Hall is punching down the wall, trying to get into the side. So
then they've got champion Shanahan and Davis all there. They didn't have the best performances.
No, there's so many on this West Coast team that
even Barnett could easily come in for Flynn, because a lot of fans there are saying Flynn just doesn't actually do anything. I'm just like, hasn't he played the 2 hardest rucks in the last 2 weeks in Cherry and Gorn? Also,
well, we said that.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do much.
But I think there's so many of these West Coast players that are going to lose their jobs once the like of like Will Phillips, Dev Robb. There's quite a few others that are potentially a side.
Genuinely, they could just. I wouldn't even be shocked if they just did something like got like traded away like a future first or something for like heaps of seconds this year, or future seconds, etc., or just use their future seconds. Got him Will Phillips, Neil Erasmus, some and a couple of other guys. And there is some concern that potentially Sheldrick does move there, but also there was a lot of the news about him, I feel like, is 2 to 3 weeks old. So like him being like, I want to actually play, and now he's actually getting to play. So we'll see how that plays out. But he could actually still be an option next year because he's got so many scores baked in to him of like 20s and 30s and stuff like that, that he probably still ends up with like let's even just look. What is his, what's he priced at currently, or what's his average? Because he's priced at 340, but he is averaging 56 at the moment through 10 games. Is it 10? Yeah, 10 games, 56. So that's just, and he's in the last 4 games put up 81, 85, 93, 109. What's that? An average of close to about 95, 90. And he's about 30 points unders, 35 point unders at the moment. But I mean, he's obviously going to close up to that average, but still there's going to be something there just from the games that he played as a sub.
There you go.
But yeah, see what West Coast do, because they can't get much worse.
No, they can't. And they need to play some players to try and get people in. Hope Cooper Harvey would come in before Banch. Hexerism, the problem with Cooper Harvey is I don't think he's quick enough. And we have his type already in Paul Curtis. We need someone who's a really good crumbing small forward who can run.
You've got about 5 small forwards that are small forward side, but none of them are actually good enough.
There you go. If Hustwaite gets named and Carroll keeps his spot, I'll be able to have a full playing 18 with Primos plus Hewitt. There you go, Flash. Bit of a rough week for you next week.
That was me last week, or this week, I should say.
That was me this week too. No idea what to do with my trades this week. Freddie, post it down in the comments. Let me know.
To be fair, I'm in the same boat.
they are a few big players still available. Mills is probably the one that you want to set up for next week.
Yeah.
Zach Johnson is a rookie that we must get in our teams this week. And then it's kind of just figuring out the rest of it from there, really. There's a few.
I kind of don't know if I want like 2 mid prices, or if I want sort of the 2 mid prices, like I don't know, a McKercher and a Doherty, or do I want to go, I'm just going to grab the Primo and Butters and then just sort of do that. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm looking at.
I'm almost praying it's not the right feeling to have, but I'm almost praying that the likes of Bailey Smith misses a few weeks, just so I can. It gives me a few tradable options in my team and some different things that I can do. And it's not a great feeling to have, but he is 630k, and that money, similar to a lot of people that last week dropped Gorn to TDK, they ended up going up in points, banking 200k, and it has worked out very well for them at the moment. So,
because just thinking about it, I could almost do a Bailey Smith to like a Butters, and then just doing something like a a Lindsay up to a Doherty or something like that, and suddenly I've got. So can Bailey Smith just come down with a knee injury for the rest of the year?
Unfortunately, we can't say that in Supercoach land, but these are the trades. I mean, I don't have many trades left. You don't have many trades left. Joe does not have many trades left. This is the time where we've got all these 600 to 700k almost very expensive players. We start to look at, well, if I drop someone like a Smith down, if I drop someone like a Gorn down, if there's other viable options and selections, what can we do? And start to look at matchups. Who's got the strongest matchups and who has buy rounds left as well? I mean, Bailey Smith out, for example, means that I have Holmes, I have Whitfield, I've got Zorko. I think I've got one in the midfield now with Zach Merritt, and then that's it really in terms of players that have their round 16 buy. So it could end up being a bit sneaky that way.
I think next week it sucks because TDK has West Coast this week. But next week, Gorn has Port this week, which he might score pretty well against. But then he's got Gold Coast Adelaide, which are the 2 toughest ruck matchups, I'm pretty sure. There's almost and also, I think, was it Tim Michelle put out that, or someone put out, like it might have been Horse put out that even with the averages, just because of the spare game or whatever, that theoretically, TDK would outscore Gorn across the 11 games if you didn't factor in the plus 60 for the buy round or whatever. So it's very, very close anyway. And you get the 160 or 170k now, that's the difference. But I think there's a genuine thought to actually think in the next 4 to 5 weeks, TDK might genuinely outscore him. Plus he's got the extra game. Can you make that 160k difference? Can you upgrade
Can you do something with the money?
Can you do, like for me, even just off the top of my head, I could do Gorn down to TDK and then do Lindsay up to a Butters and then drop a even just like a Stone or someone like that, or someone around that 190k like a Carroll, and drop them down to Johnson, and then suddenly I've got that just completely sorted.
Nice.
Yeah.
A few interesting selections. Maybe even a Bailey Smith if he goes walkies. We'll see.
Yeah,
might have $1.8 million to play with Gorn, Smith, and Ashcroft out next week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thoughts on going Neil to Nas this round? Offloads around 16 buy player, banks a good 60k, finishes off your back line. Look, I think Nas, similar to Bailey Dale, has a very, very, very good run at Marvel Stadium over the next few weeks. At 507k, he's basically perfect, and I think he's got a fairly 74 break even, so it's not too bad. But he's basically perfect. So it may be the time to start to do something like that.
Yeah, he's probably bottomed out in this price, you would expect, because 74. You're probably in the next couple of weeks. If you were to say post buy, you're probably looking at him at 540. I would say, given that he's got. What's he got? He'll have 2, 14, 15, 16. And yeah, he's got a 63 coming out of his price cycle this week, so that's why it's so low. But yeah, if you put, I'm just doing it off the top of my head here, if you put a 105 in for the next 3 weeks, you're looking at him at 525k, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a spike game in there anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're looking at getting Naz for around that 540k post buy. So I just grab him up now. He's out of the buys, and you get him 30k cheaper.
There you go. There you go. I could get Ryan Marrick. He's a good player these days. Dropped a bunch of money.
The wingman now.
There you go, the wingman. Could Mills become a hold until the end? Yep. I think there's a lot of
100%.
people similar to myself that are just like, hey, what can I do with my team? How do I get someone like a Mills as a keeper for the rest of the year, basically?
Well, Mills basically played the Roberts role.
Yeah,
he basically played the Roberts role, and I want to actually see it because I wouldn't be surprised if Mills had another 10-15% disposal efficiency on the likes of a Roberts in that role, just because he's a better player and Roberts just tends to put it on the boot, which 10 to 15% disposal efficiency difference is quite dramatic in the long run. He ended up with an 84% disposal efficiency. And Roberts, if I just quickly, I wouldn't be shocked if he was in the 70s. Let me just quickly look it up for you guys.
Took a lot of
Roberts' disposal efficiency is 75%, with some edit. Yeah, mostly the last 3 or 4 weeks has been in the 70s before he was sick. So 85 versus 75, or even low 70s, that's a big difference.
There you go. There you go, everybody. How many promos have you guys got out for round 16? I've got 6. Look, I think a lot of people are going to have quite a few. It really sucks that all these Essendon players have an early buy. It really sucks. Let me say it again. It really sucks that the likes of Essendon, GWS, and Geelong all share the same buy, because guys like Clark, guys like Johnson, and a few more of these would be perfect to play.
I've got
they just
5 primos. Yeah, 5 primos out on the round 16.
Yeah, I think
so I'm not as bad.
If I currently do not make any trades with my team, Whitfield, Holmes, Zorko, Merritt, and Dunkley, and Bailey Smith. So that makes 6. Oh, it is rough. It is really rough, and it leads credence to the idea that, hey, maybe a Bailey Smith, cheap, if he gets injured, might be the one that needs to make way. I just don't have bench playing players. I don't think I'll have 18 for that week, unfortunately, and it sucks. Unless, like, McCarthy and a few others come back. Potentially Campbell Gray, who's not injured, but there's problem with Gray is that it's great, but there's players at the moment in that Richmond team that are pushing for selection, which makes things really awkward. Kai, check your private chat too. Thinking of training Cleary, Lindsay, and Stone for McCarthy, Kennedy, and Erasmus if named. I don't know about Erasmus, man. I think we've passed on the Erasmus train, to be honest.
Isn't he like 250?
He's 233. So
because he had the buy. Yeah,
there's definitely a world where he does okay. But it is rough, man. It is a rough thing to be like, I'm going to bring in a 233 player, fellow. He'll play the rest of the time.
They're trying to keep him currently, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets mass amount of games late on, because they don't want to lose him to West Coast. But like at the same time, he's not. Has he put up any big games in particular? He's put up one score of 94 and then 80, and aside from that, hasn't really done anything too good. So it's not like he's a sub risk as well. I just don't like it, to be honest, as well at that inflated price.
Why did we not get Sheldrick? Why did you not say Big J Sheldrick?
Because we were too worried that he'd be back to sub again.
Yeah, a bit silly. I'm seriously thinking of trading Butters. Got 11 trades left. Nice. Need to trade out Levi and Lindsay. 78k in the bank. And Gray Carroll won't be enough next week. Mills, unless I trade Clark early. Well, it might be time. Yeah, I wouldn't trade Clark early. If you can make out the money somewhere else, fantastic. Clark, I don't think is the way to go with that. Unfortunately, extrism. He might even just be a keeper for the rest of the year. it's nice to have a few of these playing rookies, especially post-bye. It's what saved me a little bit last year, having someone like a Lawson Humphreys in my team, Evans as well, where other people had donuts. Stewart was out, Sheasel was out, and a few others as well. So,
what round do West Coast have their bye? You know what you actually could do, which actually might be a play, is, I mean, Clark won't probably be maxed out by then, but you could go in round 16, Clark to McCarthy, who would have probably played McCartney, whatever, the mid-season draftee. Clark's probably going to be 230k by then also, and McCarthy is 99. So you get 130k, you get a guy who's going to probably play out the rest of the year in a more favorable role, because Clark's probably going to go back to the wing in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be up and down. And that 140k is going to be absolutely huge. But yeah, I would just be dumping a Carroll, a Gray, a Gross all before him. Even me after one round, which sounds dumb, Pedler, but also I think he's got a couple of good weeks. So I'm not going to be dropping him just yet.
Yeah, a bit rough. Just need 3 premiums to finish the team. There you go. Mills, one of them as a cheapo, and then finish off the rest. I'm hoping, Kai, and we'll chat about this later, but I'm hoping that there's a forward player that I can get in my team that's cheap, that's not round 16, that potentially will finish off the forward line. Because I would love 23 premiums, even if it's like spuds, like if McKercher comes in and doesn't do much and then does a lot.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Like I've got currently, I've got Bolton, Caldwell, and Doherty as my M5 through 8 in my side at the moment, and Horn Francis. So I'm just going to have basically the top 10 forwards and about 4 midfielders at this rate.
No, I know how it is. There's a few of these other cheapos though that we'll see if we can get them in. Even the likes of a Ben Keys, the Burn Man, the guy that murdered me the last 18 weeks. Can we wait a week on Mills? Look, Mills has a bye round.
He's on the bye.
He's on the bye. You don't have to get him in this week, but just the way and how good he plays. I think you need him. You can finish
off genuine
players, but even at flex, he's going to be fantastic.
I'm just looking at this. There's a genuine threat that Hewitt is the exact same prices as Mills, and he will be heading into the bye when Mills is off the bye. So that might just be, I might just do one trade next week, honestly. Just do a straight, unless there's a rookie that pops up. Yeah.
Sneaky boy. After next week, look, he's going to go up in price quite a lot. Mills currently, you don't want to pay an extra 50k at this point of time. Let me just check. Callum Mills, 357 now, 35 break even, but you'd assume that he might score close to a 70, 80 / 100 again.
100 gets him up 60k in the next 2 weeks once he gets back from his bye.
Flash wants to see him with Roberts in the team. There you go. So just kind of figuring out what it is, going for some cheapos over the next couple of days. What's your thoughts?
I think you can, I think
thoughts on trading Anderson, Levi, and Lindsay to Johnson, Butters, and Kennedy. Sets me up for Mills in one trade next week and a Horn Francis couple of. Look, I don't mind it. Anderson's very expensive. Levi and Lindsay gets you Johnson, Butters, and Kennedy, 2 keepers in there for 2. For 1.5 basically. So trade efficiency is really good, and it gives you Mills next week. Look, I don't mind it. I think it's okay.
I don't mind it. I can tell that you're looking for that. You need a forward, I should say, is probably the best way to put it, because you've got Kennedy in there, because he's going to do all right, but he's also going to lag to that sort of top of the line forwards, I would say, in a way. If Daniel gets keeps this halfback role that's actually half decent, then he's going to average sort of that 100 marker. Whereas Kennedy, it feels like at his best, can average sort of that 95, I would say. But still, he's going to be top 8. So you're going to get a top 8 forward and a top 8, probably even 6 midfielder and Butters. And then Johnson just is going to outscore almost, you could say, Levi at this rate with how Levi is being managed. So you're pretty much upgrading almost, sidewaysing sort of Anderson to Kennedy almost in a way. with the way he's going, and then getting Levi and Lindsay for Johnson and Butters. So yeah, just huge upgrade.
Like it. Weeks like this, Kai, make me wish I had a boost. Like currently, I'm playing around with Ashcroft, Bailey Smith, and Gorn out of my team, and I'm like, oh, I can get 3 primos in, but that means missing out on Johnson, which sucks. G-Bags, thank you very much, G-Bags. Looking at trading out Roberts this week, but I'm unsure of whether to go Clark, Rosie, Wilkie, or Nazaya. Well, I think you go one that doesn't have a bye, which kind of eliminates nobody. As a Jordan Clark owner, I'm very wary of telling people to go Jordan Clark, because if you have a look at his previous scoring, he seems to go big and then he's shit. And then he goes big and then he's shit. And then he goes big and then he's shit. I don't think he will be as good against North Melbourne this week, purely for the fact that I just don't think the ball's going to be in the back line as much. North have really struggled, and he might be used as that transition player, but I feel like they're going to be really strong. Rosie is in a weird conundrum position where I really like the player. I think he's great. But there's a little bit of a moving around in terms of some other players and stuff to come back. When Horn Francis comes back as well, safest pick, best price to performance, I think, is Nazaya. And I think St Kilda are going to be the team similar to Port Adelaide, but I think Nazaya they're going to be the team that wants to push for finals as quick as they can. So I think that's the way to go, and that would probably be my selection for yourself. Velo, so go Naz. Naz first, no Wilkie. I would probably go, if I had to put them in order, Naz, Rosie, Clark, Wilkie. Probably my order there. Rosie's good because he's got DPP. But if that doesn't matter to you, then no problem. Will Horn Francis return this week? Look, I don't even think so, to be honest.
It'll be tight.
Yeah, I think they'll be close, but my feeling says no. That's my feeling fellow this week. I think they're going to rest him as much as they can. There's no pressure to it, and they want to try and push and play finals as much as they can. They want to push and try and be the best team they can be, as ironic as that is. And yeah, they don't. It doesn't really work out for them. So I think they're going to keep him on the pine. They might even play him in the Sandful this week and just say, take a rest, play half the time. Trust out the legs, because there's been so many players that have come back from injuries too quickly and then they just get stumped. So, yeah, makes things a bit rough. A bit rough. It's been fun. It's been a fun week. These are the questions I love as well, because it's like, who do I do in my team? Who do I get rid of? Who's there that potentially could be a good selection, but could be players that maybe we need to start.
You kind of need the almost what you would almost think on the surface is a dumb question, because they almost make you think about different options outside of what you're sort of centered in around.
Yep. 100%.
Like imagine saying, I want to drop the second highest scoring. I think they're both second and third highest scoring players. Let's potentially trade them out. Like, who in their right mind would think that?
Well, there's a lot of people. Like I'm personally, right, as crazy as it is, I personally am okay with, if it gets me to 23 primos, and this is kind of the preface, if it gets me to 23 primos, the week after the buys, I'm going to be in a much better position than me trying to hold 22 and not having enough playing players to finish the team. Like, maybe I should have thought a little bit about that before I got Bontempelli in. Could have gone a Mills, could have gone a Stewart, could have gone McKercher, though I never thought McKercher was ever going to be the player.
That's what I'm thinking about Doherty, is just being like, if I have the Dohertys, the Boltons, the Horn Francises, those sort of 4 or 500 or 480k players, can I play them for 3 or 4 weeks, have 23, or even just 22? Well, it would be 23 at that point. Maybe even get the 24th or something, and then being like, oh, there's a guy here that I can upgrade for 50k that I've got left in the bank here. Say someone has a stinker and drops to the 500k marker, and then you're just like, yep, I can grab that because he got tagged or something. and he's going to be down in a week or two. And then suddenly it's like, oh, yeah, now I'm good. Now I got, I don't know, because what Dacos is even 535K, for example. And he's going to have probably, you would expect, a down game next week, which would put him probably 520K for those people that don't have him. Yep. And then suddenly you're like, oh, I could do that, but that would be 3 or 4 weeks now.
There'll be
from now.
There'll be a lot of people with semi-completed teams that are looking at trading out of Zach Merritt and Nick Dacos, a few of these players, to guys like Butters, to guys like Rosie, that have already had their buy, that don't have a round 16 buy, that are going to be pretty juicy, because Zach Merritt is a great player, but he has sucked for a vast majority of the year. As an owner, it sucked. But he has sucked, and Zach Merritt to Butters is, 15K at the moment. So,
yeah, I've even just considered doing that, just burning another trade, but getting Butters, who will play an extra game, which could be just huge. Plus, Butters is probably going to genuinely average another 15 on top of Merritt. So, yeah.
Could work out okay. Playing mill score as well. My team is semi-complete. Not. There you go. 2 weeks is fair for the Durham hit. Look, I think Tom Stewart should have copped a week. He definitely elected to bump. I think that there's a few of these players, and if they're trying to combat concussion as much as they are, they need to start being a bit harsher on these type of things. So it sucks. It's not great, but is it doable? Is it necessary? Potentially. So that's kind of my thoughts there. It's a bit rough. 5 more minutes, everyone, and then we're going to head off. Just a quick 1 hour stream. Kai is going to do his team review, I assume. I'll do mine as well. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll probably just release it in the morning tomorrow.
Just kind of thinking a little bit about what I'm going to do with my side and things like that too. Who can I trade in? Who can I trade out? Players and whatnot to have a think about, really. When you're in the realm of 9 and 6 and potentially going down to 2 trades in a couple of weeks, and maybe not having any trades in a couple of weeks, it makes things, puts a lot of stuff in perspective, is what I'm going to say. So I currently have $1.273 million looking at and seeing, can I get 2 primos out of my 1 primo? Can I do some fun
Wait, would
stuff?
that be enough for something like a Butters, TDK, and Johnson, if you could do that?
Yes.
But
I
don't know how that lines up.
I really want, I think I want a forward. Is my thing.
Yeah, and there isn't many forwards that I genuinely like. Yeah, it's kind of struggle street.
Yeah, so I can 100% do Butters, TDK, and Johnson. That's not a problem. Like that actually it fits, but then I need a defender and I need a forward, and I have 6 trades left. So it's
Yep.
It's struggly.
I actually don't mind Doherty as a 23rd or 24th type of guy. I feel like he's going to be, him and Mills almost can sort of interchange, because I feel like he's got that old rollback, and at what's that, 403K? He looks really, really good post coming back. And he's in a role that I'm pretty sure he's scored 110 in the past in. And he's gone, 107, something like that. So I think he's going to be the cheapie this week that pops off and everyone goes, should have had him, etc. Like we said, like I was calling for with Caldwell last week. And I mean, Kennedy was cheap as well last week, and he still is cheap, but for the output you're getting for him in the line. But yeah, I think those Doherty, McKercher, Kennedy would probably be the 3 across the lines that I'd be looking at if you want cheapies. And
then potentially Mills the following week too.
Oh yeah, Mills from Hewitt next week is just like my one potential trade. So yeah, I am just trying to think about the Gorn trade and just thinking, is it good? Is he going to be able to pop out another game? Is he going to be able to keep going? Is his body going to be able to keep going? Does his matchups really work out? So I'll probably do a spreadsheet on that just to work it out almost in a way and just sort of see what it's like, because TDK, I mean, he destroyed Goldstein, but he's been destroying most players this year. So that'll be interesting to just see what I think about those two, because what's TDK averaging for the year? 120 or so. He is averaging on the year 113.5, which is 17 points off Gorn. Gorn has the extra game, but also TDK has had a couple of. Gorn does have a lot tougher run. TDK has a lot easier run, I'm pretty sure. I'm even just gonna.
And it does give you 150k, which is very juicy at the moment. So.
Oh yeah, that's the difference between. That's almost getting Butters himself, I think, from like a Lindsay for me, almost in a way. I think I might just fall short, but it would be somewhere close to that. But yeah, the facing the easiest ruck in the league in the likes of Matt Flynn next week for TDK, he should score well.
Yeah. Guys, that is us for today. A bit of a cheeky, quick one. If you guys haven't already, sub to Kai's channel. Sub to this channel if you want to as well. Smash that like button. It helps us out quite a lot. Jump on DR's channel. Say hello. Say good day. He's dealing with a lot of stuff at the moment and would love for you guys to do the same. Even if you guys say, hey, Big J sent you along as well, would be fantastic there as well. Members live stream tomorrow at 6, and then the drive home again on Thursday. It will be a tough one on Thursday just because of the team. The game's on at 7:30, so it's not too bad there. But yeah, should be a fun day. Can you wait a week on Butters potentially? But he's playing at home versus Melbourne. Him or Rosie will cop a tag, and Butters is likely to go massive. And if you don't get him this week, he could be the guy that you just don't get, which would really suck for you, Freddie. So yeah, just makes things a little bit tough there. Kai, it's been great as always. Yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Have fun, guys. See you later.